of Sunny Hostin on The View, Tom, basically implicating her husband in this type of a scheme.
But I would tell them to look at themselves very hard in the mirror and say, have we really not brought this on ourselves?
It's the kind of scandal that feels ripped straight out of a Netflix drama. A high-profile family, a web of deceit, and a courtroom showdown that could rival anything you've seen on TV. Sunny Hostin, a name synonymous with moral lectures and hard-hitting opinions on The View, is now finding her perfectly curated public image cracking under the weight of allegations. So shocking, they make your head spin. Her husband, Dr. Emanuel Hostin, a man once praised as a top orthopedic surgeon, is accused of being a key player in what prosecutors are calling one of the largest RICO cases ever filed in New York. And if the whispers are true, this isn't just some run-of-the-mill fraud. No, this is an intricate, multi-million-dollar operation involving fake surgeries, kickbacks, and a tangled network of alleged corruption that has left everyone asking, how much did Sunny know?
According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries.
Let's set the stage. Emanuel Hostin, known to many as a respected doctor with affiliations to big-name hospitals like Mount Sinai, is being accused of orchestrating a scheme that reads like the financial crime equivalent of a heist movie. According to court documents, this wasn't just about bending the rules. It was about breaking them, smashing them into 1,000 pieces and dancing on the rubble. With the allegations that Hostin performed unnecessary surgeries on accident victims and billed insurance companies for procedures that either shouldn't have happened or were grossly inflated. And the kicker? He allegedly received kickbacks disguised as dividends through a surgical center where he had an investment. It's the kind of plot twist that makes you look twice, wondering how someone with an impeccable medical record could get tangled in a scandal like this.
Anna went in a different direction, but I love the fact that, you know, Manny is younger and he's
How much younger is he?
Just a little bit.
He's like 1 year, isn't he? Like a month or a year or 10 years?
5 years. It's more than a year.
Oh.
Anyway, it's not about...
But it doesn't stop there. The lawsuit, spearheaded by American Transit Insurance, paints a picture of a medical world gone rogue, a network of doctors, clinics, and surgical centers allegedly working together to milk the system dry. Over 200 defendants are named in this case, but Emanuel's name sticks out like a sore thumb, largely because of his high-profile wife. Sunny Hostin, the legal expert who has built a career on dissecting scandals and delivering moral verdicts from her perch on daytime television, now sits uncomfortably close to the eye of this storm. The irony is as thick as it is devastating. Here's a woman who has spent years lecturing America on ethics, inequality, and the failures of the system, only to have her own household slapped with accusations of exploiting that very system for financial gain.
So we know Sunny Hostin and her husband, Dr. Emanuel Hostin, are preparing for a legal battle to fight accusations that he committed federal insurance fraud.
And let's talk about those numbers. Mind-boggling sums that make this case feel less like a legal matter and more like the plot of a blockbuster thriller. The alleged fraud spans years and involves claims exceeding $450 million in damages. Think about that for a second. That's not just bending the rules. That's breaking them on a scale so massive it challenges the imagination. The accusations suggest a deliberate, calculated effort to manipulate insurance payouts, with Emanuel allegedly performing surgeries on patients who didn't need them. Victims of minor car accidents being rushed into operating rooms when physical therapy or rest might have sufficed. It's not just unethical, it's dangerous. And it's left everyone wondering, how does someone go from saving lives to allegedly risking them for profit? The fallout has been swift and brutal. Media outlets have latched onto the scandal like sharks circling blood in the water, dissecting every detail and speculating on what this means for Sunny's career. For years, she's been the voice of reason, the moral compass of The View, taking down politicians and public figures with her sharp legal mind and unshakable confidence. But now, as her own husband fights to clear his name, that confidence feels more like a mask, a thin veneer hiding what must be an unbearable level of personal and professional turmoil. Critics haven't been kind. Some have called her hypocritical, pointing out the irony of a woman who has spent years preaching accountability, now finding herself in a position where she must either defend the indefensible or risk her own reputation.
This is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia.
And then there's the public reaction, a mixture of shock, schadenfreude, and outright disbelief. Social media has turned into a battleground with fans and critics alike weighing in on what this scandal says about Sunny and her place on The View. Memes, tweets, and TikToks have flooded the internet, turning what should be a private nightmare into a public spectacle. Some have even speculated that this could be the beginning of the end for Sunny's career, arguing that her credibility as a legal expert is now irreparably damaged. After all, how can someone who lectures others on ethics and morality continue to do so when her own household is under federal scrutiny?
Kooky, and it seems like they're just leaning into it. Like there's no course correction at all. Just leaning into the kooky.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Oh, yeah.
For comedy.
But perhaps the most damning aspect of this scandal is the sheer audacity of the allegations. We're not talking about a one-time mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. This is a sprawling, years-long operation that allegedly involves fake claims, unnecessary surgeries, and a network of kickbacks so intricate it would make the most seasoned fraudster blush. And yet, Emanuel's legal team has come out swinging, calling the lawsuit meritless and accusing American Transit of engaging in a smear campaign. They argue that this is nothing more than a desperate attempt by a struggling insurance company to intimidate doctors and avoid paying legitimate claims. It's a bold defense, but one that raises its own questions. If Emanuel is innocent, how did his name end up on that list of defendants? And why would an insurance company go after him with such ferocity if there weren't at least some evidence to back up their claims?
Emanuel denied the allegations via a statement through his lawyer, telling Daily Mail that his client, quote, denies each and every allegation and that the lawsuit is a blanket, scattershot, meritless lawsuit.
As the legal battle unfolds, the stakes couldn't be higher. For Emanuel, this case could mean the end of his medical career and the loss of everything he's worked for. For Sunny, it's a fight for her reputation, her livelihood, and perhaps even her place at the Hot Topics table. And for The View, it's a potential public relations disaster, a scandal that could tarnish the show's already fragile credibility. After all, how can a group of women who pride themselves on holding others accountable turn a blind eye to the mess in their own backyard? And yet, amid all the chaos, one question looms larger than the rest. How much did Sunny know? It's a question that no one seems willing to answer, least of all Sunny herself. Her public statements have been carefully crafted, designed to deflect attention and protect her family. But the silence speaks volumes. If she truly had no knowledge of her husband's alleged activities, why hasn't she come out swinging, demanding justice and clearing her name? And if she did know, even in the vaguest sense, what does that say about the moral high ground she spent years claiming as her own?
Oh, he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
As the case moves forward, the tension is only going to grow. The lawyers, the media, the public, they're all circling, waiting for the next bombshell, the next revelation that will either exonerate Emanuel or drag Sunny further into the muck. One thing is clear, this isn't just a legal battle. It's a fight for survival, for reputation, for redemption, and the stakes couldn't be higher. And yet, for all the silence, all the calculated statements, there's a storm brewing beneath Sunny Hostin's carefully polished exterior. And it isn't just the legal chaos threatening to dismantle her household. What's unraveling now is far more insidious. The slow but steady erosion of the public's trust in someone who has long presented herself as unshakable, unblemished, morally untouchable, the narrative she's spent years perfecting. A lawyer turned media powerhouse, a voice of reason in the cacophony of daytime TV, now teeters on the edge of collapse. And the cracks are impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, whispers have already begun. Industry insiders are speculating that the producers at The View are scrambling to contain the fallout, with executives reportedly torn between loyalty to one of their key players and the growing realization that the optics of this scandal could be catastrophic for a show already struggling to maintain its relevance. The timing couldn't be worse. Ratings have been shaky, audiences increasingly critical, and now one of their most prominent co-hosts is embroiled in a legal fiasco that threatens to overshadow everything else.
Them, and it's a very serious crime. In fact, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, RICO case in New York's history.
But the whispers don't stop at the production offices. There are murmurs that Sunny herself has become a lightning rod of tension among the co-hosts, with some reportedly feeling blindsided by the scandal and what it could mean for their own reputations. After all, The View thrives on its panel's chemistry, and if one co-host's personal life becomes a distraction, it risks throwing the entire dynamic off balance. Some insiders have hinted that there's been a noticeable chill on set, with certain co-hosts allegedly keeping Sunny at arm's length as the headlines grow louder. It's a stark contrast to the camaraderie they try to sell on screen, and it begs the question, How much longer can this facade hold before the cracks start to show? Adding fuel to the fire is the speculation surrounding Sunny's legal exposure. While she hasn't been named as a defendant in the case, the term marital assets is being tossed around like a grenade in legal circles. If Emanuel's alleged schemes generated any income that made its way into their household finances, Sunny could find herself facing uncomfortable questions about where the money came from. It doesn't take much for a civil suit to drag a spouse into the fray, especially when the sums involved are as massive as these. And while her legal team might be working overtime to keep her name out of the courtroom, the court of public opinion is far less forgiving. The optics alone, luxury lifestyles built on potentially fraudulent funds, are enough to ignite outrage.
Weird.
It's so weird. It really is like the whole country's hypnotized. And I just think this is a perfect storm of things that are happening all at the same time.
And let's not forget about the media's role in all this. While mainstream outlets have been cautious in their coverage, likely wary of crossing legal boundaries, independent commentators and podcast hosts have been far less restrained. Figures like Joe Rogan, who aren't tied to the same corporate restrictions, have been quick to capitalize on the scandal, turning it into a talking point about hypocrisy, elitism, and the disconnect between mainstream media and real-world accountability. These voices, unfiltered and relentless, are shaping public perception in ways that traditional outlets can't or won't. And for Sunny, whose career is built on her credibility, this kind of scrutiny is far more damaging than a headline from a traditional news outlet. It's raw, it's personal, and it's everywhere.
What's best for the people be what's running the thing. We're letting the thing be run by the people that are in power, that are corrupt, that want to keep.
And it's not just about Sunny. The ripple effects of this scandal are spreading fast. Her co-hosts, usually quick to jump on a hot topic, have been conspicuously quiet. No quips, no subtle digs, not even a passing mention of the headlines that are dominating the entertainment news cycle. It's the kind of silence that speaks volumes. A collective effort to distance themselves from the fallout, to avoid being dragged into a mess that could tarnish the entire panel. But behind closed doors, you can bet the tension is palpable. After all, how do you sit next to someone every morning, debate politics and morality, knowing full well that their personal life is a ticking time bomb?
It does not look well when your name ends up with 200 people in a RICO investigation. This is the biggest investigation since Giuliani shook the tree and a bunch of mobsters fell out, right? This is big stuff. And so, and thank you for bringing that video. It sure is ironic that she's up there. So, but...
And speaking of bombs, let's talk about the legal powder keg that Emanuel Hostin is sitting on. The accusations against him aren't just damaging, they're devastating. Allegedly performing unnecessary surgeries isn't just unethical, it's dangerous, reckless, and speaks to a level of greed that's hard to comprehend. And the financial scope of this case, it's staggering. If even a fraction of the claims are true, we're looking at a network of fraud so sprawling, it makes past medical scandals look like small-time operations. And yet Emanuel's legal team is doubling down, painting him as a victim of a desperate insurance company looking to save itself from financial ruin. The question is, will that defense hold water, or is it just a last-ditch effort to shift the narrative? Because here's the thing, the spotlight isn't just on Emanuel, it's on Sunny too. And no matter how much she tries to separate herself from the allegations, the court of public opinion isn't so easily swayed. Every detail, every new revelation in this case puts her squarely in the crosshairs. The lavish lifestyle, the designer wardrobe, the high-profile career. It all feels tainted now, viewed through the lens of suspicion. Were those luxury vacations funded by questionable payouts? Did Sunny unknowingly, or worse, knowingly benefit from her husband's alleged schemes? These are the questions that people are asking, and the answers, or lack thereof, are doing her no favors.
Stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures.
And let's not forget the irony here. Sunny Hostin, the moral compass of The View, the woman who has built her brand on calling out corruption, inequality, and systemic failures, is now facing accusations that hit uncomfortably close to home. It's the ultimate contradiction, and people are eating it up. Social media, always quick to pounce, has turned this scandal into a spectacle. Memes, hashtags, viral clips, it's all out there, and it's ruthless. The narrative has shifted from Sunny the Crusader to Sunny the Hypocrite, and it's a shift that's proving hard to shake. But perhaps the most damning aspect of all this is the silence from Sunny herself. Aside from a carefully worded statement, she's remained tight-lipped, refusing to address the allegations head-on. And while that might be a smart legal move, it's a disastrous PR strategy. Because in the absence of her voice, the void is being filled by speculation, rumors, and an avalanche of criticism. People are drawing their own conclusions, and those conclusions aren't pretty. The longer she stays quiet, the worse it gets. It's a lose-lose situation, and Sunny knows it. The question is, how long can she hold out before the pressure becomes too much?
It's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
Meanwhile, Emanuel's legal troubles are only getting more complicated. The sheer scale of this case means that every detail, every allegation is being scrutinized under a microscope. And the more investigators dig, the more questions arise. How deep does this go? Who else is involved? And most importantly, what role did Emanuel really play in all of this? His lawyers can deny the allegations all they want, but the evidence will speak for itself. And if that evidence points to guilt, the consequences will be devastating, not just for Emanuel, but for Sunny and their entire family. And that's the part that's hardest to ignore, the human toll of all this. Behind the headlines and the legal jargon, there's a family caught in the middle of a storm. Sunny and Emanuel have 2 kids, and while they're technically adults, no one comes out of a situation like this unscathed. The media frenzy, the public scrutiny, the endless speculation, it's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone a family already under immense pressure. And while Sunny might be used to the spotlight, this is a level of exposure that no one is prepared for. So where does that leave us? With a scandal that shows no signs of slowing down, a family fighting to protect their reputation, and a public hungry for answers. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the fallout, both legal and personal, could be catastrophic. As the case unfolds, one thing is clear: this isn't just about Emanuel Hostin. It's about power, privilege, and the price of hypocrisy. And for Sunny, the woman who has spent years preaching accountability, the irony is almost too much to bear.
But it's just, Pat, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to...
But what do you think? Is Sunny just an innocent bystander, or does she deserve some of the blame? And how will this scandal impact The View moving forward? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and trust us, this is one story you're going to want to keep an eye on. See you in the next one.